Vault Veritas SCP Files. Episode 34 Perfection. Okay. I just got up to get a cup of coffee. I must have been gone all of 5 minutes, and when I come back, there's a report sitting on my desk, with a sticky note in Niall's handwriting. Read and summarize for Miranda, please. Seems as though Niall's too busy these days to chat. You know, ordinarily, I resent being asked to make additional recordings, and I have been feeling that rising and overpowering sense of nausea lately. But if this is Niall's way of including me, I do want to help in any way I can. I wonder why this particular report is of interest to him. I don't see anything that jumps out as connecting it to either the Mimic Crabs or the Chaos Insurgency, but he wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. Incident Report 1853-3. Third known incident involving SCP-1853, colloquially known as the Performance Enhancer. Object Class: Safe. Risk Assessment Level: Low. Reported by Chemistry Laboratory Technician Dr. Julian Andrews. Report made February 12th, 2021. Officer's Note. The first page of this report has multiple lines crossed out and rewritten, apparently revised several times before the report begins in earnest. Throughout the pages, specific words and entire sentences have been carefully crossed out and edited, sometimes many, many times over. The report is as follows. This is a curse. My mind is already screaming at me to cross this out, to rewrite it until it's perfect. But perfection is an impossible standard. I know that. I know that. This is how it is, and I just need to write. I need to simply stop thinking about how I can make the handwriting tidier, or how to make the language flow easier, or ensure that the content is more eloquent. It's so hard to not think about that, but I'm fighting it. I won't give in. The drive to be better is just so addicting. To stand still and stagnate feels so uncomfortable. I remember a time before, though, when I was comfortable with my imperfections, when I was fine letting others win. I remember I thought that life wasn't a race. So what would be the point in competing all the time? That's why I could never enter academia, even with a doctorate in hand, and the world at my feet. The cutthroat demands of publishing and research felt alien to me. and I relished in taking breaks instead of pushing boundaries that didn't really matter to me personally. Right now, I'm sure I could dominate there. But back then, I turned away from the rigors of academia and chose the foundation for its steady pace and value placed in getting tasks done correctly, regardless of time or expense. Chemical analysis at my own speed, cushy deadlines, and no pressure to outshine anyone. I was the head of the lab, no one to compete against, no metrics to chase. I used to take pride in my laid-back, methodical approaches, thinking that they made me thorough and careful. My team ran tests on compounds from across the Foundation, and I handled them with calm and rational efficiency. Not that efficiency actually matters when these anomalies are already contained and you have plenty of time. No, it does matter. It affects everyone who works with these anomalies. No, wait, I shouldn't care about that. It doesn't... Damn it! See? This is what I'm talking about. I can't stop the internal drive. It's SCP-1853's fault. We were sent this small vial of the green serum, a mixture of unidentified proteins and chemical compounds, recovered from a raided and destroyed Prometheus Labs facility. We were tasked with analyzing its composition to figure out how it so efficiently enhances the physical and mental attributes of the living organism it comes into contact with. SCP-1853's effects are astounding. It stimulates muscular growth, enhances neuronal connections, boosts cardiovascular efficiency, processing speed, sensory acuity, and even improves pain tolerance and stamina. Additionally, subjects show a remarkable increase in competitiveness across all kinds of environments, from athletics to strategy games to combat. So of course, we were eager to crack it. Just imagine what an MTF team hopped up on this serum could accomplish. But the science behind it is maddeningly elusive. SCP-1853 operates on a quantum-level anomaly, where the mere act of observing or trying to understand its structure causes it to change and behave differently. It exists in a superposition of states. Any attempts to analyze it yield inconsistent results, and it really is quite maddening. Even without looming deadlines on this one, I kept making excuse after excuse as to why my analyses kept failing, and I resented it for being so difficult. The evasiveness of any answers was enough to drive me to the edge of madness. That's why I tested it on myself. I convinced myself that after all the experiments I'd run on it, the sample must have lost its anomalous properties. It didn't interact with the lab rats. I couldn't find anything unusual in all of the spectroscopies, chromatographies, sieve analyses. I tested it so much that I was certain it had lost any anomalous properties. I was sure it was safe. I just wanted to confirm my theory about the quantum anomalies. I never thought it would actually work. I can't believe I didn't realize the effects. They were pretty instantaneous, but I don't know. It just felt normal. I was already frustrated with the lack of testing progress, so why not stay a little longer at the lab? I convinced myself it would be just this once. I worked late into the night to submit my theory about the quantum anomaly to my superiors, and I noticed myself going back over my phrasing, rewording it over and over. It just never felt quite right. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't professional enough. It wasn't perfect. Even after I'd convinced myself that the theory was as well written as it was going to get, I just couldn't get it out of my head. I barely slept a wink that night, tossing and turning and mulling through it over and over again. My mind refused to switch off. Had I really done the best that I could do? Or did I get lazy and quit even though my report could have been better? For the first time in my life, I started to question my own dedication, the effort that I was putting forth. For the first time, it didn't seem good enough. Why settle when I knew that I was capable of more? I started staying later and later at the lab. At first, it was just to prove to myself that I really was capable. But then, it started to feel like a challenge. Could I arrive before everyone else and still have the stamina to outlast them all? I suddenly needed to. I needed to be better than them all, to prove that I was worthy. At first, I really thought it was tied to my failure to properly identify SCP-1853's composition, to crack the anomaly's mystery. I thought I was just reacting, albeit rather weirdly, to my first serious roadblock to assisting the Foundation. I pushed myself harder and harder. My efficiency skyrocketed by a full 100%, and the praise from my superiors was intoxicating. It didn't take long, though, for the feelings of achievement at my newfound stamina to begin to wane. Just staying longer was not enough to prove myself. I needed to work faster and faster, and I was so surprised that my body was actually able to keep up with the new pace I was setting. I never slowed, so when could I have ever actually noticed my new muscle tone, my newfound speed, or the way I could compute complex calculations in seconds? I stopped leaving the lab altogether. What was the point of going home when every second wasted outside of the lab was a lost opportunity for success? Every new order coming in was now a race. If I didn't figure it out, someone else would, and then they'd get all the credit. and that would be me losing. I couldn't have that. I had to prove that I was better, that I was worthy. By staying there 24/7, I was winning. I was enough. But it wasn't enough. There wasn't enough challenge to it. How could I really prove myself when things weren't a challenge? Nobody else was as dedicated as I, so they weren't any competition at all. I desperately began to search for something to start competing with, and my attention turned towards the clock. Could I set up a chromatography test before the minute hand made its next tick? What about a titration? It became depressingly easy. Boring. I needed more. I began to time myself and made myself do a task over and over again, trying to shave off even a millisecond more each time. And that was it. That's what did it. By turning my life into a relentless competition against myself, I had realized something devastating. I could always push further, always improve. No matter what I achieved, it was never going to be enough. There was always a sharper, faster, better version of me just out of reach. And that stinging truth made everything I was, everything I did, feel worthless. I began to connect the dots to the 1853 experiment. The lab's mirrors showed my new form, efficient and yet terrifying. My muscles bulged unnaturally under skin that stretched far too tightly. My eyes were sunken and dark from sleeplessness, but still alert and restless. I knew that wasn't right. That wasn't me. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't regress back to my previous sorry state of lackadaisical complacency. Wasn't this better? I was getting so much done. What did it matter if my mind and body suffered? It didn't take long for my coworkers to intervene. I'm still not convinced that they weren't just fed up from continuously losing out to my new brilliance. That has to be why they turned me in. What would be the point otherwise? I've done nothing but contribute to the Foundation's well-being. I've done far more in the past month than I've done in the last 2 years. How exactly does that scream compromised? No, they're just tired of being the underdogs, tired of being unable to win. What's even the point of them trying when they know they're so supremely overshadowed? Even now, I have to keep going, keep writing. I have to make it perfect. I have to write more. I have to go back and change what I've written. It isn't perfect. Some of these sentences are too long. They're not snappy and impactful. There must be a way to fix them. There isn't enough else in this room. This is all there is, so I need to be good at it. I need to write more. I must win this. The final page is a series of scribblings that have been crossed out and rewritten so many times that the paper itself has torn. And if that wasn't enough to make it nearly incomprehensible, it is also stiff as a board, encrusted in a large volume of dried blood. According to a supplement from a present security officer, Dr. Julian Andrews refused to cease writing and hand over his pen. When officers attempted to intervene, he threw them aside easily, never once stopping his writing. Given his new mass, they were unable to force him to listen to their instructions. And, as he had already been scheduled for termination, I'm sure they would have gladly kept him around had he been more pliable. The Foundation does love its efficiency. But I fear it loves unwavering obedience quite a bit more. Well, it must love me in particular then. I find a report labeled, "Read this," and I do. Hopefully Niall gets what he needs from it. I can't imagine what that might be. I really hope he isn't considering using 1853. Even though someone who takes it might be able to face the Chaos Insurgency well enough, what with the physical enhancements it offers, it doesn't seem like the side effects are worth it. Or, wait, maybe this isn't about Niall at all. I remember the report about SCP-1943, the one that bears a striking resemblance to this. Elias, was it? Yes, Elias Duncan. The laboratory technician present when his friend was targeted by the Chaos Insurgency. That report mentioned the augmentations the insurgents had been subjected to. Does Niall think that SCP-1853 may be to blame? What was the name of the group that appeared in this report? Prometheus Labs. I've never heard of that before. Oh no. Don't tell me it's another one of those groups of interest that keep popping up. If the labs and the insurgency are somehow linked, I honestly have no idea what that would even mean. I can't even begin to theorize with what little information I have here. Well, I'll summarize this for Miranda as best I can. I do want to help after all. But I think I'm content to do so in my little, imperfect, and less than impactful way. I think Dr. Andrews proved well that perfectionism is just a pursuit that never truly ends. always striving for a goal that's eternally out of reach. Maybe it's enough to simply do what we can, no matter how minor it seems. Even the smallest part can play a crucial role in preparing for what's to come.
Vault Veritas SCP Files is a podcast inspired by the SCP Foundation. Perfection is based on SCP-1853 by Anonymous from the SCP Wiki located at scpwiki.com/SCP-1853. It is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike 3.0 unported license. This episode featured Justin Gellner as Scott Anderson. It was written and edited by Leola Angel. We welcome comments. Please rate and review us. Email us at vaultveritas@gmail.com. Join our Discord channel using the link in the episode description. Tweet us at Vault Veritas, or for additional content, visit our Patreon. Thanks for listening.